Okay, so March Madness, right. I mean, when you hear those two words, I bet you think about, all the buzzer beaters, the crazy upsets, the drama.
Yeah.
We all focus on the players, the coaches, the whole thing playing out right there on the court. But have you ever actually stopped to think about the referees, the folks in those striped shirts?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, think about it. Every call they make under that kind of pressure, it can totally change a game.
Absolutely.
Like a team's entire season could hinge on one whistle.
Yeah.
So what we're diving into today is how did these refs even begin to prepare themselves for that insane high stakes environment, you know?
It's funny you should say that because a lot of people don't realize just how much goes into it.
Yeah.
The kind of prep these officials go through. It's kind of like a hidden side of March Madness.
For sure.
We're so focused on the teams, right?
Yeah.
But the journey these refs take to get to the tournament and then to actually officiate those games is
Yeah.
tense.
It's got to be.
It really is. So in this deep dive, we're going to take a look at what it really takes to be a ref at this level.
Right.
All the stuff that happens behind the scenes, the pressure they deal with. Our goal here is to give you a better idea of what their role is all about.
I love it.
And maybe, just maybe, you'll look at those calls, those hand signals a little differently.
Yeah. Appreciate it a little bit more.
Exactly.
So let's just start with that pressure for a second. I mean, from our perspective as fans,
Yeah.
it's already kind of a lot. But can you imagine being the ref? Millions of people watching, totally invested, emotions running high.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's not just about who wins or loses, right? You've got scholarships on the line, careers, legacies, all riding on, whether you call a foul or not.
It's true. And that intensity, it's magnified by the sheer scale of it all. The passion of the fans, whether they're right there in the arena or watching at home.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got the instant replays, the analysis from every angle, the debates online, all focused on those calls.
It's relentless.
It is. And here's something most people don't think about. On top of all that public scrutiny, these refs are being formally evaluated on every single call they make throughout the entire tournament.
Wait, every single call?
Everyone.
Man, that's a level of performance review most of us can't even fathom.
You're telling me.
So knowing that, how do they even begin to handle that pressure? What's the first step in even getting to that point?
Well, it all starts way before the brackets are even set. It starts with the selection process.
Right, so it's not just any ref can just show up and do March Madness.
No, not at all. The NCAA, they got a really selective process. Throughout the regular season, while you're watching those college games, these refs are constantly being evaluated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They look at the accuracy of their calls, how consistent they are with the rule book,
Makes sense.
and this is a big one, their game management skills.
What does that mean exactly?
Basically, it's their ability to control these high-pressure games, keep things flowing smoothly.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. So it's almost like the teams themselves, right? They're being judged all season long, and that determines their tournament seeding.
Exactly.
And for the refs, it's like their performance determines if they even get to be a part of March Madness.
Yeah. You could say it's their own version of the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
They got to earn their spot on that court. And once they get that invitation, that's when the real prep begins.
Okay, so it's not like they just show up and wing it based on, years of experience.
Oh, no. There's a whole other level of prep that kicks in once they're selected.
So what does that look like? What are they doing to get ready?
It's pretty intense.
Mm.
A big part of it is film study. And I'm not talking about just watching games casually.
Right.
They're breaking down footage to really understand the teams they might be officiating.
Mm.
They're looking at offensive and defensive strategies, common plays, even individual player tendencies.
Wow, so they're scouting the teams, but from a referee's perspective.
Exactly. They want to know, for example, if a certain player tends to draw fouls a certain way, or what kind of contact usually happens during a specific play.
Wow.
You know?
So it's like they're trying to anticipate the flow of the game almost.
Absolutely. They're trying to get ahead of potential problems.
That's fascinating.
And then on top of that, they have to stay updated on any rule changes or interpretations that the NCAA might put out for the tournament.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah. Sometimes they clarify existing rules or issue new guidelines to make sure officiating is consistent across all the games.
Right, makes sense.
So the refs have to know all that stuff inside and out. And then they have these pre-tournament meetings with all the other selected officials.
So it's not just individual prep, it's a group effort.
Exactly. These meetings are crucial for making sure everyone's on the same page. They talk about potential scenarios, review rules, and basically try to come up with a unified approach to officiating.
Yeah, so a foul in one game should be called the same way in another game.
That's the idea. Consistency across the board.
Right. But it can't just be all about film and rules, can it? I mean, these games are so fast-paced, so physically demanding.
You're right about that. Being in top physical shape is absolutely essential.
So it's not just a mental game.
No way. You got to have the stamina to keep up with the play, the agility to be in the right position,
Right.
and you need incredible focus for the whole game, which could even go into overtime.
And that focus can make all the difference in a tight game.
Absolutely. So a lot of these refs, they maintain strict workout routines year-round, but they really ramp it up in the weeks leading up to the tournament.
To make sure they're ready for anything.
Exactly. They got to be at their peak.
So they've been through this tough selection process. They've prepped like crazy. They're in top shape. What's game day like for them? Like, what do they do in those hours before tip-off?
Well, their game day routine is really structured too.
Oh, I bet.
They usually get to the arena several hours before the game.
Makes sense.
Gives them plenty of time to get ready, both mentally and physically.
So what do they do? Like, give me the rundown.
Okay, so one of the first things they do is review scouting reports.
Like dossiers on the teams.
Basically, these reports, they're usually put together by the NCAA or the refs' own organizations. And they highlight things like team tendencies, key players to watch, potential matchup problems, that kind of stuff.
Really specific.
Yeah, it's all about getting a feel for the game before it even starts.
Makes sense.
And then they have a pregame meeting with their crew. That's the other refs on the court and the crew chief.
Right.
They go over the game plan, talk about any last-minute adjustments, make sure everyone's on the same page.
So even on game day, there's still that emphasis on consistency and teamwork.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, just like the players, they have to warm up physically.
Oh, can't forget that.
Got to get those bodies loose, make sure they're sharp and ready to go.
So it's a whole lot more than just showing up and blowing the whistle. There's strategy involved, preparation.
Yep, it's a process.
And then once the game starts, all that prep meets the chaos of live sports. And that sometimes means controversial calls that we as fans might disagree with.
Sure.
How do they handle that scrutiny, especially in the heat of the moment?
That's where all that training and experience really kicks in. They've spent years honing their skills, developing their instincts.
Right.
It's about staying calm under pressure, even when players and coaches are arguing. The crowd's going wild.
Yeah, you gotta have ice in your veins.
You said it. They can't get caught up in the emotions. They have to focus on the play, their position, the rule.
And block out all the noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can't be easy knowing millions of people are watching, maybe seeing things differently.
I bet that's tough.
It is. And that's why the way they interact with players and coaches is so important. They have to be firm with their calls.
Right.
Because any hesitation can make them look weak.
You're right. You're right.
But at the same time, they have to be fair and respectful.
So it's a balancing act.
It really is. They need to be good communicators, explain their calls clearly, and try to keep things from escalating.
Yeah, de-escalate the situation.
Exactly. So they're part rules expert, part athlete, part psychologist, all rolled into one.
And you said earlier that they're being evaluated on every call during the tournament. Does that end when the final buzzer sounds?
Nope. Their work continues after the game's over. The post-game routine is just as important.
Wow, so it doesn't stop?
No. They'll usually review recordings of the game, focus on specific calls they made, especially the close ones or the ones that caused some debate.
So they're self-evaluating.
Exactly. They want to see where they were positioned, how they made the decision, and they also get feedback from evaluators, experienced guys who watch their performance.
So they're getting feedback from coaches, basically.
In a way, yeah. It helps them identify areas where they can improve and reinforces good habits.
So it's a cycle, right? Prepare, perform under pressure, then review and get feedback.
That's it. And even at the highest level of college basketball officiating, they're always striving to get better.
Makes sense, especially in March Madness, where any little mistake gets magnified.
Oh yeah, the stakes are so high. Their dedication to learning and improving is what helps keep the game fair.
It's really incredible when you think about it. It's so much more than just calling fouls and violations. It's a demanding job, and the preparation is so intense.
It is, and they played such a crucial role in making sure the game is played fairly at the highest level.
Absolutely. So I want to leave you with this thought. Knowing all this, everything we've talked about, the prep, the pressure, the scrutiny, does it change how you view refs in these high-stakes games?
Yeah.
And what does it tell us about all those unsung heroes, those essential roles that we don't always think about, but that make these big events possible?
That's a great question to think about.
Food for thought, right?
Definitely.